Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 25th of September. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm delighted to say we're joined on the video this week. He has been on a fair few times in the last few days, but Chris Jack joins us. How are we doing, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. Thankfully, there's plenty to keep us talking. There's plenty of discussion points. So no, it's the morning after, the afternoon before, once again for Rangers and Rangers fans. So I will. Another big week, but when is it not a big week when you're Michael Beale?
Yeah, every game is huge for him at the moment. He seems to be living from game to game at this point in time. Rangers winning 1-0 against Motherwell yesterday, but the reaction at the end and what we've seen on social media, and I'm sure what we'll see from the comments this morning, suggested that no, all is not well. It was a very hugely disappointing performance from Rangers, a proper get out of jail, you could say. Motherwell perhaps aggrieved not to take anything from the game. If you want to get your points across, folks, get them in. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. The goal itself came in the first half. But fortunate with regards to Cyril Dessers getting on the end of a Rabbi Matondo strike. We'll discuss Matondo shortly, Chris. But that was pretty much it. Motherwell had a few opportunities, but Rangers flattered to deceive up front, offered very little, and it just looked disjointed, what we've seen pretty much since the start of the season. Incidentally, Michael Beale spoke afterwards in his post-match press conference. He was asked, first of all, you cut a frustrated figure during the last 10 minutes there. From the first minute onwards, I was unhappy with the team today. The unforced errors with the ball were unacceptable for players playing here. That performance today was a really poor one. It was a good goal. The goal was something we worked on with trying to overload in the middle with the width, and I thought it was well worked. But outside of that, some of our play was so poor against a team which was in a good place and is well organised and came here with a plan. They executed their plan better than us because we constantly turned the ball over and left ourselves vulnerable. Losing Rabbi to injury, and it doesn't look like a good one, didn't help us, that's for sure, because we were few and far in our team of players like that today who could outplay and dribble with the ball. The back three gave us some stability and possession when balanced behind the ball, and I thought those three played well, and John Lundstrom in front and Jack Butland. But in terms of performance, that is well below what the players expect. I expect, the fans expect. We got away with one today. I don't want to take anything away from Motherwell. They came here and played well. I'm sure Stuart will take a lot from the game, but for me, that's well below what I am looking for from this team. Chris, you were on in the instant reaction with Johnny yesterday. I urge you all to go and check it out, folks, on the YouTube channel at Ibrox. Can't disagree with much of what you boys were saying there. Very pretty much in keeping with the season so far, Chris, which is extremely worrying.
Yes, it was not good. I think that the manager summed it up post-match when he said, "How can you come off the pitch 10 o'clock on Thursday night, having just beaten Real Betis, and then a couple of days later you go and produce that at home to Motherwell in a game that it's not as if it was a meaningless one. It carried huge significance for Rangers in terms of title race, in terms of trying to build a bit of momentum. And the two results, two performances, two sensitive occasions are just so different. And I think when you've had 3 games now since the break and since the defeat to Celtic, obviously it's 3 wins, it's 3 clean sheets. On the face of it, it's fairly positive. But the results, what's the St Johnstone performances? St Johnstone and Motherwell especially, nowhere near the level, nowhere near acceptable. And I see comments coming in there, the fans saying a win feels like a loss when you get to that stage. And we're only 11 games into the season. It's not a good situation to find yourselves in. I thought the manager was really raw and really honest in his post-match press conference yesterday. Probably the most raw and honest that I've seen him. I thought he also looked a bit scunnered, which mirrors the feelings of a lot of the fans. And he's painted himself into a corner now. Again, comments coming in saying he's one defeat from the sack. Really, when you get to that stage and everybody's just waiting on that one, you're already all but done. It's very, very difficult to come back from that precipice and to continually doing it. It's also another big week. A game against Livingston on Wednesday night just has to be won. Aberdeen at the weekend has to be one to keep us in the title race, but results at the minute are papering over the cracks of performances that are just nowhere near good enough. And if you were if it's a case of grinding out results, but you thought there was something there, like you thought there was a plan, it would be different. If you thought that they were doing it and they were going to definitely go on and win silverware this year, you would kind of get away with a few bad weeks. No team plays scintillating football from first whistle to last. Rangers haven't played it at all this season. Best performances are a half against Real Betis and playing fairly well against Ross County away. That just doesn't cut it at Rangers. The manager knows that. The players, if they didn't know that during those times, they certainly should do now after being booed off after a win. So it was a day that ticked a box in terms of 3 points, but one that raised so many other questions about where Rangers are and where Rangers are heading right now.
Yeah, not many positives to take other than it's 3 points. Tam Brown with a point here. He says that was a worst league performance since the last weeks of Gio. It certainly felt like that watching the game yesterday. And Denzel with a point, a few others saying as well, I don't think I've ever heard the team jeered at Ibrox after a win. I'm struggling to think a game, Chris. I think perhaps maybe a League Cup match. Something springs to my mind against lower league opposition where Rangers weren't at their best. I think there was a game under Gerrard, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely sure, but very rare that happens. But certainly the Ibrox crowd who turned up in their numbers yesterday, paying good money to go and watch that, getting served up what was served up. They've got every right to boo, I think.
No, definitely. No, we can all discuss whether Rangers fans are too demanding or whether they've got too short a fuse or why they leave early or if they expect too much or comment to players on social media. There's so many aspects of the fan base that we can have a discussion on. But that is what you sign up for. As soon as you put pen to paper at Ibrox, you know you're having to play for a club and work for a club that just demands success. It's been built on success. This is what Rangers Football Club is all about. And if you don't live up to those standards, the criticism and the comments and the abuse, as long as it's channeled in the right way, is going to come. So it's not something that people can shy away from. It's not something that people can make excuses for. That's just life at Ibrox. If you're big enough and you're ugly enough, then you handle it and you go and prove people wrong and you win things. If you're not and you don't, there's the door ultimately, because you're not. Also, if you can't handle it and you don't win things, you're no use to Rangers. And that's a situation a number of people are now finding themselves in. A lot of questions to answer. Is Michael Beale the manager that's going to win 56? Is James Tavernier the captain that's going to win 56? Is this squad of players going to be the group that's going to win 56? If anybody wants to come on and make a case for it, I'd love to hear it, because what we've seen so far, it just doesn't look that way. Now it's only 4 points. Things can turn. You get players back, but there's just a feeling. There's a malaise round about the support these days. And once that starts to gather momentum, once it starts to snowball, it becomes very, very difficult to reverse that and change the momentum. We all hope that it can do. We all hope that it does, because we'd love nothing more than to see Rangers go on and win the Premiership this season, and also win one of the cups if possible. Have a great run in Europe. That's what we all want. But what has been served up so far gives very few indications that that's actually going to be the case.
Yeah. I agree with you, Chris, with regards to that. I can't see Michael Beale holding aloft the Premiership trophy come the end of the season. Just can't see it with what is the evidence that is unfolding thus far. Let's get to a few points that are coming in just now. First of all, Origami Dinosaur says, missed the game. I'll watch the highlights later. Good luck with that, buddy. Sounds underwhelming. There's a big football stadium near my hotel in Marrakesh, so I might see if I can see a game there this week. And I wanted to raise a point when Rabbi Matondo went off injured, Chris. Now it looks like it's a bad one. Michael Beale was asked about it afterwards. He was asked for an update on Matondo and the Tom Lawrence injuries. He said Tom thought he had cramp and wanted to continue in the game, but we didn't take a risk. The next day he woke up and couldn't walk, so he has gone for a scan. He won't play this side of the international duty. He has a problem with a calf. The international duty sounds like it's longer because that is a 2-week break, but he will return with Todd and Nico and Danilo. Kieran might be back in the middle of the week to play at the weekend, but obviously he's lacking a bit of fitness. Rabi today, we think that might be a bad one. He's taken a blow on the outside of his knee. That's the information I was given. He went down, Chris, and he came back on now. It looked bad. If you go down without a tackle or what have you, for me, the decision had to be taken out of his hands and taken off, especially if it's a knee issue. Allowing him to play on may have done some serious damage to him. So I was a bit perplexed why he was allowed to play on. And it looks like he's going to be out for some considerable length of time.
When you get to the stage where Rabbi Matondo is now seen as a massive injury blow, it probably sums up where Rangers are, because with all respect to him, this is a guy that the fans would have driven to any destination that he fancied in the summer. He looks so far out of the plans. But it does say a lot for how he's managed to work his way back into the team. Once it got to start yesterday, I don't think many people would have argued with him getting his start yesterday. I think he deserved it. If he hadn't picked up that injury, he would have played over the coming weeks, because he has become an integral part of that side, rightly or wrongly. To lose another player from middle to front is just another blow that Michael Beale can really have done without right now. You already think of losing Dowell that you mentioned. Cantwell's obviously out, Raskin's out, Danilo's the really big one. Rangers are really struggling for numbers and for quality from middle to front now. And it's hard to see, Roof aside, where are the goals coming from? You can't rely on Sima. There's nobody else in the middle of the park that looks like chipping in. That's not the game of Jack and Lundstrom. Cifuentes yet to really convince that he is this all energy box to box guy that's going to chip in with a few over the course of a season as well. So I think Rangers now look really short of numbers. I think the manager addressed that yesterday, talking about the situation with the sub, also bringing on John Suter rather than Sima or Roof, for example. And I think he was also trying to protect them for Wednesday night. He basically said he was trying to keep them in reserve. He didn't want to have to call on them yesterday. Ultimately, he did though. And it just sums up the situation that the Rangers are in. They're short of numbers, short of quality, certainly look short of confidence in the final third. So no, it's not a good situation, and we can only hope that the Matondo one isn't as bad as initially feared. But the manager says that in the press conference, it doesn't sound good. It's a shame for Rabi, because whether we rate him or we like him or whatever, he's done a great job to work his way back into this Rangers side, rightly or wrongly. He's done his bit. He's got himself in the team, scored a couple of goals, and he does carry a threat in certain situations. He can be effective, and you would much rather have him than not have him right now, especially in the situation that Rangers are in. So it's just another one of these blows. We saw it last season with Gio. Different circumstances in terms of how the injuries have been picked up, I think. But when the results and the performances aren't there, and you then start losing guys to these injuries, it just all adds into the one big melting pot, unfortunately.
Yeah, so many questions at this moment in time. As a point coming, hopefully Rabi is not as serious as feared. We'll get an update on him tomorrow when Michael Beale conducts his pre-Livingston press conference. Few questions coming in. This one from Ian Edwards says, can we recall Hadji? Genuine question. I don't believe we can, Chris. Is there a recall option in January time for Giannis?
I'm not sure. I can try and find out for Ian, but I don't know if there is.
I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
No, even then, it would be another body. It would be another option. But the manager also made it clear that Giannis wasn't part of the plans. The situation has changed in terms of the injuries, but as far as I'm aware, there's not. But I'll try and find out.
Yeah. Point as well that came in. Pete Lawrence says, I fell asleep watching the game. I'm not sure. I'm sure you weren't alone, Pete, with that. It wasn't the best, I've got to say. Another issue as well. I mean, I've seen him come in for a lot of criticism. You and Johnny were discussing him and his performance yesterday, Chris. Cyril Dessers leading the line. I had Kemar Roof in my predicted lineups to lead the line. I can understand why he was rested ahead of Wednesday night, and Cyril brought back in, big opportunity for him. Listen, he scored a goal. I seen someone commenting yesterday saying all his goals and have been accidents more so than meaning to have a strike on target. So I don't know whether we read into that as being in the correct position at the right time and what have you. But that aside, his goal aside, another disappointing performance from him. I've seen a lot of supporters now saying, why did we get rid of Antonio Cholak and bring this guy in? I seen Johnny mention yesterday, said he would rather have Kevin Van Veen at a fraction of the price of Cyril Dessers. He's now 10 games into the season, Chris. We've seen enough of him. How does he turn this around? Because he doesn't not look like the option. Did Rangers need to change the system? What's going on there?
Well, he turns it around by scoring more goals. Unfortunately, he doesn't look like he's capable of scoring the number of goals that it's going to take to turn this around. He's come in. He seems a cracking big guy. I can imagine him being good in his dressing room.
Yeah.
He's certainly good from a press point of view. But those factors don't make a Rangers striker. Now, Rangers strikers are judged on goals and they're judged on ultimately winning things. I actually didn't realise until Dessers went away celebrating. At first, I thought the Matondo shot had taken a deflection off a Motherwell defender yesterday, and had then gone by Liam Kelly. It was only when I then saw Dessers sprinting towards the corner flag in celebration that I realised it was actually him that got the last touch. Having seen it back a few times, I think if we say he knows what he's doing, we're being overly generous. The ball comes at him at a lot of pace. Matondo's got a good strike on it. And it's hard to think that Big Dessers has seen that and thought, I'm going to put my foot in that direction and I'm going to flick it over the goalkeeper. It's his goal, but I don't think he knew too much about it. In terms of his overall performance, there just wasn't really, there's just not enough there. He doesn't carry enough threat. It's perhaps unfair to compare him to Morelos, but we're going to anyway because that's who these guys are replacing. And You just think peak Morelos. No, it's a million miles away from that. You can never.
I would even have Morelos last season, Chris. I think he's. I would rather have Morelos checked out Morelos than what's getting served up right now.
So there's no, even in terms of his style, there's just nothing there to suggest that he's the man that's going to replace Morelos. Not just in terms of goals, but like the way of being able to hassle and harry and we've seen Alfie occupy entire European back fours on his own just by getting in about people and running the channels and dropping deep and pulling players out of position. Dessers just does none of that. And it's maybe the way that the manager wants to set the team up, that's fine. But we really just need to see more of him. But I think, unfortunately for him, going by the reaction that he gets online, or the reaction he gets at Ibrox in a game, comments we've seen online, the comments that we continually get on the show, a lot of people have already made their mind up on Dessers that he's just not good enough and he's just not going to cut it. If he can go and score 5 goals in the next 7 games, that quickly turns opinions. Again, if anybody wants to take a bet on it, I think you'll give very good odds on him being able to find that kind of form because it just doesn't look like he's got it in him, unfortunately. And as Johnny was alluding to yesterday, for the fee, for the manager being so set on him and scouting him and going to see him, managers put a lot of faith in him. Club have put a lot of faith in him in terms of the fee. And like Sam Lammers, it just doesn't look like maybe money well spent at present.
Yeah, getting lots of comments coming in saying they'd rather have Sibo or Francisco Sandaza up front. That tells you how the fans are thinking about Cyril Dessers at this moment in time. Not impressed whatsoever with the big Nigerian international. Must do better, and certainly it's being flagged offside is certainly a frustration as well. Stephen says he's not capable of staying onside. I've got to say, he was caught a few times yesterday. Not as I was going to say not his best performance, but I don't think we've seen anywhere near an acceptable performance from him. I think PSV at home, I thought he was decent. And then you're thinking that's something to build on, but he hasn't done so. There's a few comments coming about that wee noise, Chris, saying it sounds like that the coppers are. Denzel says it sounds like a submarine. It's a sub in the periscope. It's just his computer. I mean, it sounds like Pac-Man or something like that. I've got to be honest, but
I'm not really sure what it is. I keep getting a notification up about toggle keys. I'm not techie genius. When you get Josh on to figure out what this actually is.
Thomas says Derek's Lecky is running out. Yeah, that's putting that big light on. It's cost me an absolute fortune. Right, let's get to a couple of more points that are coming in. This is an interesting one because I've seen it mentioned on social media yesterday, Chris, with regards to where the Rangers go from here. And is the problem bigger than Michael Beale at this moment in time? Matt Weir with the point says, good morning. Couple of things. After wanting Beale so badly to succeed, I'd like to hear from Bennett on the overall action plan. Also, why haven't we employed an experienced director of football? Is that something that's a fair comment? Would you like to hear from the chairman at this point in time? Do we need to hear from John Bennett, Chris? And in terms of the director of football, it's something that the club were relaxed about. Come the summer, I think we were on video saying it was essential Rangers brought someone in, but it was essential they brought someone in that was right for the club, and they never rushed the appointment. It seems to have been forgotten about slightly. Are we close to getting a director of football? Is it a problem at the moment?
It's something that I would certainly like to see. I think the last time we spoke about it in depth was on the transfer deadline day. Myself, Johnny, and Stevie addressed it, and it is a position I would like to see filled. As you say, Derek, the board seemed quite cool on the whole idea, and are happy to see how things played out rather than rushing into an appointment straight away. The last update I had on it was that they were obviously assessing whether it was the right model for them and whether it was the right thing for the club to do. Ultimately, I don't think a director of football solves the problems that we're seeing on the park right now. That's very much down to the manager and the players. But I think there's a bigger picture at play, as always at Ibrox, and it is a position that I would like to see filled. I think it would be beneficial to Rangers, as long as I think the role changed slightly from what we've seen previously. So I would like to see a director of football that is not just judged and is solely responsible for transfers in and out. I would still have the manager. I know the summer recruitment has not been good. The manager still has to have the overriding say in all ins and outs over the course of a transfer window. But I'd like to see a director of football there that has a huge experience, background, and a bit of vision in things like the academy and the women's side and sports science and medicine and improving the facilities at Ibrox and Auchenhowie. That's where I think the director of football has to have more of an input and slightly less in terms of the transfers. That's also not to say that they can't have an input on transfers. Overseeing the scouting structure is also hugely important, and that's something that will come. That's a discussion that will come back again on the back of this summer window, where the recruitment looks like it's not been successful at all. So the short answer is yes, I would like to see a director of football in there. Other answer is I'm not sure what stage it's at right now.
My worry is, I think Michael Beale said himself at the tail end of last season he was quite happy with the extra responsibility, but I just have a concern he's just taking on too much work. He's going out there jetting off to speak to players, enticing them to Ibrox. He's meant to be taking the training and managing the team as well. It's a lot to take on in modern football. You don't get a Sir Alex Ferguson anymore, and even then you had a team of people working for him. So I'm just concerned it's just too much for him at this moment in time, and he just should concentrate on coaching the team and getting a style of play going that excites the fans. It's an entertainment business at the end of the day. I know it's a results-driven business as well, and it's 3 wins on the trot, clean sheets. However, the entertainment factor is pretty much nil at this moment in time. It has to improve. Wednesday, Chris, it's all about progression in the League Cup. Saying that, though, we need to see something on Wednesday. Surely, does it make changes? Well, it surely makes changes, but what are we expecting on Wednesday night? Because Livingston, I'd imagine, will be licking their lips somewhat.
If you're turning up expecting a bit of rock and roll football, hate to disappoint you 48 hours out, but in terms of changes, I think the injuries have reduced that quite a lot now. There's actually not that many that you can make. I'd imagine Seema comes in for Atondo. I would think Roof comes in for Dessers. Apart from that, who else are you turning to looking for a bit of inspiration?
Well, Scott Wright played yesterday. What's your thoughts on that? I thought he struggled. Position was a bit bizarre. Didn't get it.
I thought he looked like a guy who's not played a lot of football, mainly
Yeah.
because he's a guy that's not played a lot of football, mainly because he's a guy that they tried to sell to Turkey 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
No, again,
Yeah.
another one who was that far out the plans. He's allowed to go and discuss moves. That then fell through. I think there was a wee bit of interest from English clubs towards the end of the window. That didn't materialise, and now he finds himself starting games. And over the next couple of weeks, he might well find himself starting games more often than not, just because of the injuries. I say no Danilo, no Dill, no Cantwell, no Raskin, no Tom Lawrence. It does leave Rangers really, really short in those attacking areas. If Wright is played in his proper position and played as a winger, then he can maybe offer something, but he's not going to turn around Rangers season. I'd be amazed if he does. So in terms of changes, I think it's Sima and Roof come in middle of the pitch. You bring in Jack Cifuentes, who's not been overly impressive, but you've then got the Jack Lundstrom combination.
Yeah.
I know sets people off, and
Yeah.
terms of those two guys being the same team at the same time, especially at home to Livingston, I don't think that's going to go down very well. So no, I think it's going to be much of a muchness, and the manager is just hoping that someone can produce a moment of magic to break down a Livy side who we know exactly how they're going to set up and know what they're going to bring. I don't think it's going to be a classic encounter, put it that way. But
no,
need to see a slightly better performance, and obviously we need to see a win, because this Viaplay Cup is one or bust for Michael Beale.
It is. It cannot afford not to hold that trophy aloft. It's December time, isn't it? The final? Am I right?
It's a couple of days after the final Europa League game, so they play Thursday, in match day 6, and then the final is on the Sunday. All going well, so a potentially defining few days for Rangers and for Michael Beale. But there's, as they say, there's a lot of football to be played before then. That's about 3 months down the line. Let's just take care of this week.
Yeah, as I said at the start of the show, he's living game to game at this moment in time. Neil McLean with an interesting take. He says, we can blame Beale for poor tactics and team selection. You can't blame Beale for professional players taking poor touches and making poor passes and decisions. That ties in. He was asked about in his post-match press conference, do you need more from your summer signings? He says there is an opportunity for everybody, isn't there? When you play, there is an opportunity, so you have to take it. Both sides of the game, out of possession where you work it, and in possession with your quality. I didn't think the service they got today was great at times. I felt early in the game that every time we made a forward pass, we gave it away. I'm looking for more from this group of players. They know that. I take no comfort from winning that game of football today. He added, I don't take one bit of comfort from that. It wasn't a game I enjoyed at all. I don't think the players enjoyed it either. It's a complete backward step after a forward step on Thursday. We have 2 more games this week. The game on Wednesday and the game on the weekend is really important again. So the games are not going anywhere, and we've got no players coming back. It's down to me and the group of players to respond and show better than we did today, because today is nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near, he emphasised as well. Yeah, can't disagree with any of that. Will we get a reaction on... It seems like we keep saying this after every game, Chris. Will we get a reaction? But it seems strange after a victory. But listen, Rangers need to go out there and beat Livingston and progress to the semi-finals of the League Cup. Failure to do so, I think that the writing is very much on the wall. But another sobering afternoon at Ibrox on Sunday. Right, I think we'll leave it there, folks. Thanks very much to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. It's greatly appreciated. Huge thanks to Chris as well. Joshua and Stevie are back from their holidays, so they'll be on the video at various points this week, so something to look forward to. Chris, give you a wee well-deserved day off or two, Chris.
Well, as we said when I joined the review team, hopefully I'm going to be the signing of the summer. I think Jack Butland is just about pipping me so far, but safe to say, without blowing one trumpet, I'm ahead of Surrey Dessers.
I won't disagree with you on that one. Right, folks, that'll do us there. We'll speak to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.